All right, guys, so the last and final video for today is going to be all about conclusion paragraphs. Conclusion paragraphs, in my opinion, are one of the easiest paragraphs to write because you're just kind of summing everything up. You're not really doing anything new. So I'm going to share my screen with you so we can talk about conclusion paragraphs in a very simple manner, and I'll elaborate on what's actually on these slides because it is pretty simple in the slides. So really, the conclusion paragraph is intended to end everything strong, okay? So like you want to start strong with your introduction paragraph, you also want to end strong with your conclusion paragraph. What exactly this paragraph is? This is going to be the final paragraph in your paper. So after you have your introduction at the top, you have body paragraphs 1, 2, and 3, then you're going to have your conclusion, okay? This is when you signal to the reader that you made your point and you think it was a good one, okay? So what you need to do, and I'll spend a little bit of time on this slide, you're going to start by restating your main claim, point, or thesis. So what's really interesting about the structure of a conclusion paragraph is that it's actually the opposite of your introduction. So your introduction starts off very vague, like, oh, here's a hook, let me engage you. And then you're slowly giving background information, slowly making your way down to your thesis statement, very specific. Now, a conclusion paragraph is the exact opposite. You're starting very specific up here with restating your thesis, claim, whatever, main idea, and then you're slowly making your way back out to general, okay? So start by restating that thesis in a new way. It should not be the same sentence. You don't copy and paste, but you restate it in a new manner. Then you're going to provide some sort of summary of the main examples or points in relation to your thesis, okay? So you kind of run back through, like, over the courses of these chapters, like in chapter 3, we see him start off this way or end this way or whatever you want to say. And then by the time we get to chapter 9, we see this, okay? Then you're going to provide, and this is optional, okay? You're going to provide some sort of reason for the significance of this idea that you talked about in relation to your hook. So kind of making it general again. So if you started off your paper with talking about faith in general, maybe you talk about why we struggle with things and how this was an example of that. If you talked about what a memoir is, maybe you talk about how this was a very significant memoir and what it does for people. If you talked about the Holocaust, maybe you talk about why it's important for us to hear these kind of stories and how they affect people. So lots of ways you could go about it. It's really up to you how you end it. And like I said in the previous video, talking about thesis statements and introductions, if you want me to look over your conclusion paragraph, we can do this. The big thing to make sure you remember is something you're not supposed to do here where people get tripped up, okay? Do not provide any new quotes or new information. If you didn't state it in your essay, you better not state it in your conclusion, okay? This is not the time for that stuff. Just like you guys do it, don't do it. Don't make any new arguments or points to support your main argument. Like I just said, if it's not in your body paragraph, it's not in your conclusion. Don't copy and paste the topic, sentence, or claim of every body paragraph into this one. That's just repetitive. I already read it. I don't want to read it again. And don't say exactly what you already said, okay? You don't want to be repetitive here. This paragraph will be one of the shortest paragraphs you write. I'm thinking your conclusion will be somewhere between like 4, maybe 5 sentences. Anything more than that, you're kind of getting excessive and you're probably repeating yourself, okay? So don't do it. Okay. Remember when you're writing this, you got it. Okay. Spend time on this paragraph, but don't overcomplicate it. You already did all the hard work. This is the last thing you're writing. This is you summing everything up, saying just kind of, I did what you asked. Okay. Here it is. So if you had, think of the conclusion as if you had to summarize your entire essay in 3 sentences, 4 sentences, 5 sentences, how would you go about doing it? Okay. So that is the conclusion paragraph. Super simple. Okay, it took me like a minute and a half to talk to you about this. It shouldn't take you very long to write it. Okay, so don't overthink it. All right.